Welcome back, everyone. You may have heard of the problems caused in the United States by fatherlessness, this epidemic that is spreading around the country, that has been going on for decades now, that is impacting young boys and young girls, and really damaged, I think, a whole lot of adults in this country. And we have with us here today at CPAC in Washington, Eric Carroll, and he is with Dad Talk Radio.
Dad Talk Today.
Dad Talk Today, sorry. And so it's a real pleasure having you on. I understand you started this just recently, and you guys are just exploding.
Yeah, man, we started this about 6 months ago. I'm an alienated father. I haven't seen my daughter in a year and a half. She's 3 years old.
Sorry to hear.
And it's not really because of any allegations or anything. It's just I haven't had the money to fight. I was a single dad that had custody of his 2 daughters. And after going to the lawyers and finding out what family court's all about, I felt hopeless.
Well, you know, and this is the other side of the argument with fatherlessness. Because when we hear fatherlessness, a lot of times we think, oh, deadbeat dads, guys abandoning their kids, not fathers who get hurt so bad by the court system, don't have the money to fight back, and are not allowed to see their kids. Because that happens.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I was raising my 2 daughters for 3 years, and I got in a bad relationship out of a divorce. I shouldn't have got straight into a relationship because I wasn't ready, and I got with the wrong person. And a lot of times you don't know until a little bit later on, this might not be somebody you need to be with. And you know, I don't want to seem too bitter. I do believe that it's mental health issues that is causing parental alienation and narcissism, and they need help as well. We need to recognize it inside the family courts so that we can get them help and do effective co-parenting. And
then of course you start worrying about the health of the kids as well. I'd imagine that's very difficult. But I think this ties into something bigger, that the fact that you've, in a very short amount of time, gotten over 100,000 followers on this show, I mean, to me, that says that this is something a lot of fathers across the United States really care about. They're looking for an environment where they can learn more about it, where they can, you know, find people who've gone through the same things as them and try to make sense of what's going on. Is that what you're seeing with your audience?
Absolutely, man. So we're almost at 100,000 followers. Last time I checked, in like the past 3 weeks, we reached 15 million people, and they're coming to us by the dozens saying, I've been affected by family court. And it's not just fathers. There's a lot of mothers that are starting to feel that heat now too, because it's starting to creep its way around and become whoever can throw the best dirt, or whoever's got the most money. And I believe a lot of the issues like we saw here at CPAC today would be solved by restoring families again and getting these issues taken care of, but not many people are talking about it.
And so why don't you tell us about some of the main issues you've been focusing on?
Parental alienation is really the huge one. Parental alienation, when one parent brainwashes another child into not wanting something to do with that other parent. I believe that's child abuse, and we've got to get some awareness out there and get something done about it where it can be diagnosed, and equal shared parenting. You know what? If a mother and father came together to parent a child, they should be able, or to make a child, they should be able to come together to parent the child. Parenting should be a right, not a fight. That's just the best way to say it, my man. And we've got the lawyers and the top doctors across the world that's been coming on the podcast, and we are attacking it in every way we can.
Well, and you know, I've heard some pretty bad stories as well. I know a good friend of mine actually, I mean, his story is pretty rough. But long story short, now he thought his entire life that his father hated him, didn't want him. His mom told him this crazy story that his father tried throwing him out of a car that was moving, that she saved him from his father, skipped town, went away, and you know, he never saw his father, grew up without a father, not until he was like well into his 40s. His brother actually did some long, you know, test thing and parental, like, I don't know, hired a public, or what do you call it, private investigator. I mean, yeah. Crazy stuff. Found his dad. Turns out the entire thing was a lie. It was parental kidnapping. None of the stuff the mother had told him was true. And luckily he saw his dad, knew him about 2 years before his father passed away. But that for him was, you know, saved his life in some regards.
Oh man, it's huge. We've actually had whole families on that talked about going through this as a child and what went on with alienation, what their mom would do when they would ask to see their dad, what lies were told, and how they were programmed. We had 3 sisters on not long ago, and it gets dark. It gets really, really dark. And if we don't do something about this, it's just going to continue to run rampant.
Now, you talked about, you've had guests on exposing different parts of this. What are some of the main problems you're seeing with the court systems that are allowing this to happen?
Believe it or not, I thought it would be a rare thing, but the silver bullet. False sexual and physical abuse allegations, because those are the ones, once they're fired, it's effective. They lose custody and they have to defend themselves off, and that can be a very costly battle, and for some, they can't fight it off.
That's a guilty till proven innocent charge.
It needs to, yes, it's guilty till proven innocent, and it should be innocent until proven guilty. If we're going to make accusations like that, we need to be able to prove them, and you know what, if we're going to be letting stuff like that go on, there needs to be consequences for these people that are making false accusations, and they're found to be making false accusations. They need to be jailed, they need to be fined, and they should lose custody right away.
And what are some of the other issues you're seeing when it comes to the courts?
Money.
Money. In other words, people not having the money to fight back. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had a doctor on the podcast, one of the most respected doctors in the New York area. It was a pediatrician. They ordered him to pay $18,000 a month in child support. He couldn't do it. He got $600,000 in arrears. They put him in jail for 6 months. He was talking about right before he went to jail, he had to stand out on the street corner with his hat out just to beg for money to get supper. Then once he goes to jail, they put some money on his card. They took the money from his card in jail, and he is getting underwear from a crack addict, a respected pediatrician. It's like, come on, guys, what's going on? And that is what Title IVD is doing to the families right now, a federal incentive program that reimburses the state 66 cents off of every dollar, where bonuses and incentives are gave out for collecting child support. Something's going on.
But in other words, when you pay child support, the state's subsidizing that with 60 cents on the dollar?
The federal government is giving the states back 66 cents off of every dollar, so that they make money off of collecting child support.
And so that means it's coming out of taxpayer pockets, which means that, I mean, they have extra incentive to do it first off, and they also have extra incentive, we would assume, to make overcharges and different types of, it opens realms for corruption, in my opinion.
$5.5 billion industry.
$5.5 billion.
A year. I mean, it's a true thing, and we need to wake up and start changing things, guys, because money's not worth, destroying families. And I see it every day. We've got grown men and grown women coming to the podcast and asking us for help, and all we are doing is trying to raise awareness and hearing them cry out, wanting relationships with their kids, man. It's abusive. It really is.
Well, and think of all the victims of this. I mean, the kids, of course, the kids are one of the biggest victims. Kids, not having their parents, being told that this father they loved all their lives, now they're told to hate their father. This mother they loved all their lives, now being told to hate their mom. I mean, I'd imagine the tearing apart within these kids' hearts when facing these kinds of issues is just destructive to their souls. And we see the effects of fatherlessness when it comes to crime, when it comes to incarceration, when it comes to graduation rates, when it comes to their ability to function as adults. I mean, this is where it's at. And how is a society not focusing on the heart of a lot of the problems we're seeing on the surface? You mentioned, of course, we're here at CPAC, and you believe that a lot of these issues that we're talking about, people are talking about here, could be resolved at the parental level. Is that what you're saying? I
do. I believe it has a trickle-down effect. There's many things like that. There's higher molestation rates, there's school dropouts, suicide. Many of these societal issues that we've got have, consequences. And if we restore families, I guarantee a lot of these issues, they might not be solved, but you'll see the rates go down. I really do.
And now, when it comes to, say, the dropouts, when it comes to the drug abuse, when it comes to these different things, what do you tell parents? I mean, I assume you get a lot of guys coming to you and saying, my kids are sad, my kids are depressed, I don't know what to do with myself, I can't see them, I can't help them, what do I do? I mean, what do you tell them when it starts getting further along the line?
That's a rough one, because a lot of them have been, they've had a hard time with therapists too, so they don't trust anybody after they've been through the court system and with therapists. But I tell them, go do your research, find a therapist that realizes what you're going through and talk to them, because if you lock this in, that is the biggest thing that we've got, especially against men. They put up this fake facade of strength when really they're hurting inside, and then it comes out as anger, but that's really that anger is coming from love. They just lost a relationship, they lost their children, and they don't know how to display that affection. They need to get out there and start talking to people so that they can resolve these issues, but instead they're holding it in, and you're seeing suicide rates spike, not only in men and women, and in teenagers. You got social media and all these different things that are, I think, driving that ratio up, and we've got to have an eye on it. This
ties into, I think, a bigger picture we're seeing in our society right now, which is this war against fathers Now the father is being painted as this, stupid, foolish guy, drunk on the couch, laughing, making stupid jokes, that kind of thing. Not as a figure of respect.
Right.
Not as someone who you appreciate for his wisdom, for his, steadfastness, for his self-sacrifice, for the things he does for his family that cost him, these basic joys, but he does because he loves you. And that's how dad shows his love for you. That entire institution is being attacked right now. And children are being taught in many ways that they don't need fathers. And there's this also big attack on masculinity, toxic masculinity, and this demonization of the virtues of men. Ironically, at the same time, women are being taught to demonize the virtues of women. They're being taught that being tough is what they want. Ironically, embodying different forms of toxic masculinity is somehow a righteous thing for women, and men are being told to, just go die or something. I don't know what they're trying to tell them. It is such a bizarre situation being fed by all these wacky narratives, and the victims of it are the children, the victims of it are the mothers, the victims of it are people who can't have healthy relationships, the victims of it are fathers who lose their kids, who have broken families, and who, like you said, a lot of times end up turning to suicide or maybe drug abuse or other forms of trying to cope with pain that they don't have the courage or the ability to express.
Yes, it's not toxic masculinity, it's a lack of masculinity. They're trying to take the dad out, we're trying to put the dad back in. I have gotten so much flack over being called Dad Talk Today. They said, why didn't you call it Parent Talk Today? They don't want us to have the dad in the name. We're not taking the dad out, we're here to put it back in because that's where he belongs. And I believe that every household, mom and dad both play a vital role. When you take one out, you're losing a very important aspect of that child's life, and we need to realize that again. We really do. There's things that a mom can do that a dad can't, and there's things that a dad's going to do that a mom can't.
And there's things that kids look to their parents for in different ways as well. The kids look to their mom for one thing, look to their dad for another thing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, as a father that was raising two daughters by himself, when my daughter hit teenage years, there was things that she went through that she didn't want to talk to me about, even though that was one of my best friends, and we talk about everything. She wanted to go to her grandmother, because mom wasn't there, and I understand that. There's certain things that would have been a perfect time for her to talk to her mom, I'd like to see those moments come back.
Now, when it came to this radio show you just started, or like I said, already having huge success. What was it that made you want to not only, of course, deal with these problems you're facing, which are rough, and a lot of guys are facing it as well, but to take that and build something with it? What was it that you saw this was a bigger problem? Was it you just needed an outlet? What was it that made you want to go and do that?
Well, I started realizing just how bad it was. Again, I had just got out of a divorce, and then I get in this relationship with this woman. We have a child. That erupted, before she even gave birth, and I started realizing a little bit of what was going on. I go and visit a family lawyer, and this is after the baby was born. I paid him $400. It took me a while to save up for it. Consult with him for an hour, and he tells me, you should just get back with her. That was his best advice to me, and I was like, excuse me? He's like, did you not just hear what I told you I was going through? So I go to another lawyer. He's like, you got one of the best cases I've ever heard of. I'm going to need 10 grand on retainer to get started. It's like, I'm starting to see a recurring theme here. And as that guy, I didn't have it. So it felt hopeless, and I wanted to give up, but I couldn't give up. Once you start doing a little bit of digging and you hear from more people that are going through this, it's like somebody's got to start speaking up, or we're going to forever go through this. I don't plan on passing this on to the next generation. I want something done about it now, and we're about to get loud. I think the biggest travesty is for people to stay silent when there's issues that are affecting them. So it's time to get something done about this, my man.
It's just as a last question, if you were to leave our audience with one thing, what would you want them to know about this issue of fatherlessness, this issue of the court systems? It appears being rigged against the family, the kind of nature of the problems you're seeing. What is the take home from this? What do you want people to know about it?
I think a lot of times we get PC when we talk about issues like this, so I'm just going to shoot straight from the heart. This is child abuse. It's extortion, and to make money off of something that is so important to us, man, please do something about it. I'm asking everybody to stand up, speak out, write legislation, do whatever you've got to do to make sure that we can end this war. This is a war that we're fighting. It's a war for our families, and Everybody sees it, but not many people are speaking out. Speak up, stand up, don't let them trample on you, please.
Great. Well, it's good having you on the show, man. I have to get you on again sometime. And everyone, remember to like and subscribe. We need your support. Click the notification bell if you're on YouTube. You get the alerts when new videos are up. Again, like and subscribe. We need your support. And with that said, we'll see you next time. We got some good stuff lined up.